Hi, I'm Chris James, and you're watching A Healthy Alternative. Today, we're going to be talking about diabetes. Welcome back, everyone. So I have a special guest with me today, and I've been telling you guys about him. I've mentioned him several times. You've seen some of his pictures. He's a real person. This is my brother, Jonathan, and we're going to be talking about his journey as he, went through the process of being diagnosed with diabetes and obviously transitioning into non-diabetes.
Health.
What do you call it? Health? Health, as he transitioned into health. So I guess the first question is, when did this happen? What were some of the things you noticed? And why'd you go to the doctor in the first place?
Well, it kind of started off, I want to say late December in 2015. It was, the year was just coming to a close. I noticed that I was having just strange things in my body. My sleep was getting more off. I was going to the restroom frequently in the night. 5-6 times a night, which is terrible for your sleep. A lot of other little things were happening, and I wasn't feeling well. Generally I was okay, but I knew that something was off. Something changed. There's something that was different. Mm-hmm. My girlfriend suggested that I go to the doctor. Guys never want to go to the doctor.
And God for girlfriends, huh?
So I finally acquiesced because she did all the work for me, and I went. And upon my visit, I learned, after I got my blood work and urinalysis and everything, I learned that I was a pre-diabetic. I was in that range. I was massively overweight, obese technically, and
how much did you weigh when you actually went to the doctor?
When I went to the doctor, I was 271 pounds, which at my height of 6'1" is still pretty big. And that's kind of how it started. I didn't want to go to the doctor at first, but had I not gone, I would have never found out that I was in this diabetic range. I was on this path, and had I not done that, I couldn't have got on the journey to circumvent that.
Okay. So your girlfriend got you to go. You finally went. The doctor told you, yeah, you're well on your way to diabetes. And what was her, as far as the doctor, what was her plan? What did she want to do for you?
She really didn't seem to have a plan. It was more of you're going to move into diabetes, and we can kind of help the process along a little bit, maybe slow it down, but this is what's going to happen as you transition. There wasn't really we can definitely turn this around kind of thing. There wasn't, it was this is how it's going to happen, and but hopefully we can slow it down a little bit. There wasn't a fix.
Right. So she wasn't talking, she did not talk about specifics, how we can stop this from happening. We are accepting that this is happening, and this is our plan to transition into, full-blown diabetes and the treatment plans and whatever. So that's pretty significant because, a lot of times we feel like, oh, doctors know it all. They know it all. They've been formally educated. If there's a way to treat diabetes, if there's a way to cure diabetes, they know. And I remember he came home, he told me all these things, and I was just like, nah, man, no. Because with what I've been learning, we can beat diabetes. We can knock this thing out. And of course, you had done some things on your own prior to all of this happening. You'd taken some herbs or supplements or something like that?
Yeah. Before that, I did a little cleanse, and I've been changing my eating habits a little bit. I didn't have the information that I have now at that point. So right. I was still fumbling around in the dark, sort of. and I thought I was making some progress, but it wasn't really till afterwards, and this past year that I really had an understanding of what to do and could succeed.
Right. So it sounds like even with you, just kind of working towards learning about the herbs, cleansing and stuff. I mean, that was well before we knew that you were, diabetic.
Yeah.
And so you did those things, but you were still moving towards that diabetes range, even with the little cleanse you did, even with the subtle changes in your diet. And it sounds like it's just because of obviously lack of knowledge, lack of the proper information. So you get diagnosed. What happens next? Like, what was your game plan for knocking the diabetes out?
Well, the way I got started was I had this chance encounter with this woman. She was a client of mine, and she started telling me about this health supplement called Kyani, and it's got all these super fruits and stuff, jammed in it, and it's just it was just like a little shot of juice that you would take, and she was telling me that how it helped people with other, ailments and things like that. And she said that, yeah, it could definitely help with diabetes. So I was just like, okay, that's really exciting, because I was just diagnosed with pre-diabetes, and I wanted to, of course, start to fix that immediately. Because like I said, I was having some issues that I shouldn't be having at my age.
Too young.
I'm too young. So I was eager to try it, and I did faithfully for 3 months. And I went back to the doctor in April to see what the change was, and there was no change. Unfortunately for me, with what I was doing, I was faithfully taking the Kyani and following the directions and everything, but there was no change still. And when you try something faithfully for 3 months or a certain amount of time, you would figure that there would be some significant change, but there wasn't. And to me, that was kind of a red flag. So I knew that I had to find something else. There was still something else, another piece of the puzzle that I was missing, that was preventing me from, getting back to a healthy state.
So with the Kyani, essentially what you're saying is you didn't get worse, but you didn't get better.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, I actually did do Kyani as well, and I researched Kyani quite a bit, and we distributed Kyani for a while. And, Kyani did have some positive effects in my life as well. But this kind of goes back to the reality that you can't actually get your healing from an outside substance. Your body is what does the healing. So our goal is to give our body all the tools and whatever it needs so that it can heal itself. And essentially, you got to look within in order to get the healing. And so what was the next step? So Kyani didn't work. And where did you go from there? What was your thought process?
Well, from there, I was I didn't know. It was, I didn't know what I wanted to do or what I should do. But until I started to stumble upon Dr. Sebi's videos again. Dr. Sebi talked about healing people with things much worse than diabetes. And I'm just like, okay, there's something to this.
Right.
And that's when you and I started to research more about fasting. Mm-hmm. And fasting is the thing that's really the miracle cure.
We're not allowed to say cure. Oh. Apparently, I think we're allowed to say treatment or help. Fasting helped his diabetes, but he doesn't have it anymore. So fasting is not a cure. I'm not promoting fasting as a cure, but let's just say he had diabetes, he fasted, and now he doesn't.
So, yeah. I don't know. For me, it's people look at fasting and they think that it's unhealthy and that you're just starving yourself. All you're going to do is go into starvation mode and store a bunch of fat. It doesn't actually help, when in fact that couldn't be further from the truth. Not only did I cure my diabetes, which is, I didn't even realize that there was such a thing as diabetic kidney failure. When you really start to progress and as it gets worse and worse, I didn't even know that. So I didn't even realize how serious it was.
Right.
But not only did it help me get rid of diabetes, but also, my obesity. I was 271 pounds. Today I'm 201 pounds. So, a 70 pound loss.
Right. That's a
That's
person. That's a baby. That's a young child.
That's an 8-9-year-old.
He lost an 8-year-old
lost
boy.
an 8-year-old.
An 8-year-old boy.
Yeah. So.
Well, let's talk about your weight loss just real quick before we move. So you started off at 272, was it?
271.
271. And okay, so how long did it take you before you started noticing, weight loss? Was it a daily thing? Was it a weekly thing? And how long did it take you to get down to this point? Like what are you doing?
Well, so it only took me to visually see results. I mean, a couple of days.
Wow.
I noticed change pretty much instantaneously as far, talking days now.
Right,
I mean,
okay.
It didn't take long at all. Within the first week, I think in the first week I dropped, I want to say 15 pounds if I'm remembering correctly. 15 or 20 pounds.
15 pounds in 1 week.
1 week, yeah.
First of all, isn't that dangerous? What's that term? Excessive weight loss or something like that? Like extreme weight loss?
Oh, whatever made up name they gave it. You can call it extreme weight loss, rapid weight loss. It's unhealthy for you. It's all rubbish. Because I did it, and not only was I feeling better, but I was feeling more confident because I couldn't believe how quickly I dropped 15 pounds. And I remember putting in hours and hours at the gym and I didn't even get a fraction of the benefit.
Wow.
So yeah, it only in the first week I noticed, because I did 6 days the first time.
Okay.
I decided to fast for 6 days, and that's why I lost that 15 or 20 pounds that first time. And after that, it didn't take. I was ecstatic because I just remember putting in so much work and not getting
Any
that
results,
benefit.
right? Now, what type of fasting were you doing? Because there's all these different types. You got water fasting, juice fasting. Some people do smoothies. Some people do the Daniel fast. I mean, what different fasts did you try? Which ones were the most effective? What are your thoughts about that?
I didn't try a whole bunch of fasts, full disclosure. I tried one because I felt like that would be the most beneficial. I did water only, distilled water only. Distilled water has sort of a magical property, if you will.
Are we allowed to say magic? I think we can say magic.
I think we can say magic.
We can't say cure, but we can say magic.
If we can say magic, then I'm using magic. So the distilled water, it pulls out those inorganic compounds in your body. So you've got these toxins that sit in there. They sit in your fat stores, and that's why we get that stubborn fat that is hard to lose, seemingly hard to lose. And when you drink that water, it pulls that stuff out and helps to detoxify you. So I decided I'm not going to consume anything but water, and that's what I did. I mean, even at this time, I didn't have juice. I didn't have a peppermint. I didn't have
gum for your bad breath. Did you have bad breath?
I did have bad breath for a while. Yes. As your tongue starts to, get rid of that stuff, it comes to the surface and it's, apparent. So I just did water. I did water only. And I know, can I talk about my symptoms or what I was feeling?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Let's get into it.
So when I started, the first day was good, because I still had glycogen stores. So, the first day was pretty easy for me. And as time went on, the second day got a little more difficult. By the third day, I want to say the second night, going into the third day, when I was sleeping, I was noticing that the hunger pangs were waking me up.
That's terrible.
I struggled a bit to sleep because I was hungry. I'm used to eating. I was hungry, and my stomach was waking me up. So, kind of a restless night in the third night. And then when I got up, I noticed that I was feeling lightheaded. You know how you're sitting down, you stand up too quickly, you're like, oh man, I got lightheaded.
Yeah.
But only I would stand up on a normal pace and I would still get lightheaded. So that was it was interesting. But of course, but it was a good sign to me because I knew things were happening. Right. I wasn't just feeling perfectly well throughout the whole time. I knew that something in my body was happening.
Okay.
So I persevered. I kept going. I was still going to class and still doing some work. And I decided that I was going to still do things. The fourth day, it started to get a little easier. I wasn't feeling like I was, dying of hunger or anything, or, my energy was lower, but as long as I rested, I felt okay. And, as time went on, I made it through my week. And, it was, again, I was getting on that scale and I was seeing every day. It started to get to a point where it was every day I was losing about 2 pounds. And the 2 pounds a day thing, it's crazy because I would be happy if I would lose 2 pounds in a week.
Yeah. 2 pounds a week is amazing.
Yeah. So being somebody who was massively overweight with diabetes, I knew that I couldn't stop. I had to keep going because of how effective this was.
Right.
And then, so because of that, because of how I was feeling, I decided to create this schedule.
Okay.
I call it 5 on, 2 off.
5 on, 2 off. What exactly is that?
So what that means is I will fast for 5 days, water only. So Monday through Friday I would fast. Saturday morning would come around and I would break my fast.
Ooh, we eating. We eating. Saturday morning.
Eating good. I would get an apple to start off, something light and juicy. Maybe have 2 apples, just start off really light. Then I would eat foods that were generally lighter and easily digestible throughout the weekend.
Okay.
And that would help me to maintain, I don't like seeing the numbers go back up on the scale.
It's gonna go up on the weekends. Trust me.
Yeah. If you eat, it's gonna go up.
What are some of the ranges that you noticed as far as your weight gain?
Okay. Well, if I would eat something that wasn't so great,
just keeping it real with y'all.
I'm just gonna be honest.
Just keeping it real with
If I had something that wasn't good, it would be in one meal. It might be 3 pounds.
Wow.
And that's just one meal. So you gotta think, if you eat 3 times a day after you break your fast, depending on how heavy the food is, you could gain 8 pounds in that day.
Okay.
Now you're not gaining it. You're not putting it on as fat on your body. It's just sitting in your stomach. So it's kind of a mental thing too.
Okay.
So you have to be careful with that. But it helps if you have foods that are like I said, fruits and easily digestible veggies, things like that. Good alkaline foods are really good to have because you pass them quickly. They don't sit in there. There's not a huge detriment on your body. So it was good for me because I noticed the change from eating good stuff and the change from eating bad stuff. And I know it's much easier on you mentally to eat good stuff because you won't regress.
Okay. So we're losing weight. We're looking at 15 pounds in our first week. We did a 6-day fast.
Yeah.
All right. We're eating on the week. So he was so, what's the word? Enthralled by his results that he decided to continue doing the fasting 5 on, 2 off. On the weekends, he tried to kind of slowly reintroduce food back to his system because, food can have an adverse effect. I know that I definitely did have an adverse effect when I ate too much. So you want to slowly kind of get back into the juicy fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. And then you continue doing that. So how long was it before your symptoms started going away? Because we know weight is a symptom, but you did have other symptoms. When did you start seeing those go away?
Well, so 2 months in, I've been doing my 5 on, 2 off. And in 2 months, I lost 50 pounds, which
Wow.
Blew me away.
50 pounds in 2 months.
2 months. And honestly, it could have been even faster than that. The reason I didn't do it any faster was because I went on vacation. My girlfriend and I, and her brother, and her cousin. It was a little family vacation. We went to the Dominican Republic, and for I can't remember, a week. And I had fun. I was eating food there. I held on because I didn't want to eat because I've been doing so good. But I ended up eating regular meals there and everything. So it set me back a little bit.
Okay.
So things like that. It set me back. But if I had stayed on it, if I didn't go on vacation, I'm sure I could have done that in a month. Just 1 month, or a month and a half, or whatever. It would have been much quicker. So. 2 months, I lost 50 pounds. During that time, I noticed, I can't remember exactly when, I want to say probably no later than a month, I started noticing, really less than that. But let's just to be, because I don't have an exact amount of time, let's just say in a month or 2 months, I start to see that my symptoms were going away. Some of the issues I was having, I'll say some of the man issues I was having. So yeah, I was having some issues, and they were no longer present. I was sleeping better. And that's a big one for me because I actually get disability for sleep, for my lack thereof. And I was sleeping better, so that was huge for me. I'm still a very light sleeper, still very sensitive, but if the stars align just right, then I can get a really good night's rest.
Catching Z's.
So for me, that was huge. And again, that did not take long. So I decided after I lost that 50 pounds that it was time for me to start going to the gym.
Okay.
Oh, let me mention, I didn't go to the gym at all during this time, during the 2 months. Not
so
once.
You're losing on average 2 pounds a day, and you're not doing any exercise, no cardio, no nothing.
Nothing, not a thing. There was no reason to. That stuff, cardio to lose weight, it's ineffective. It doesn't work. Fasting works.
Oh, blasphemy.
Oh.
Calories in, calories out. What are you talking about? Blasphemy.
Well, my eating habits before, if it takes 3,000 or 3,500 calories to, if that's a pound worth.
I think a pound is 2,500, 2,400, or is it 35?
I heard it was 35. So which one is it?
Maybe it's 35. I don't know. Maybe it is 3,500. Maybe it's not an exact science.
Oh, well.
That's no good.
Well, I'm gonna eat them, go ahead and get that, So I wasn't eating, even when I had a normal diet before of stuff that wasn't so good, but still a normal diet, I still wasn't eating anywhere close to 3,500 calories a day. So just because of my natural habits, I should have been slowly losing weight, but I wasn't. I was maintaining at 271 pounds. And,
Well, you had slowly progressed to that point because you weren't always 271. So for those of you out there that, you're bigger, or you're overweight, and you're like, man, I don't eat that much. And your friends and family, they look at you and they laugh and they joke and they say, yeah, right, No, we're with you. We get it. Like, you might not actually be eating that much, but we've been taught calories in, calories out. So maybe there's something wrong with the way that we've been taught how to lose weight.
Oh, you're gonna step on some toes now.
I don't care about toes, baby. I ain't worried about no toes.
Clearly, because that's one of the tenets of weight loss: calories in, calories out. The most important thing.
So you're not burning any extra calories at the gym. You're sitting around. Well, you're going to school. You're working. You're doing massage therapy. And what were your energy levels like? How was it moving around?
So as time went on, I got really used to the fact. Really, not time went on. It's really like after the first week or two, I was set.
Okay.
It does not take long to acclimatize to the 5 on 2 off fasting lifestyle, so to speak. That's what I call it. It does not take long. Now I'll fast for 5, 10, 12 days or whatever without really batting an eye. But it doesn't take long to get used to it. And now I get to I actually work out while I fast. And that's what I did at the 2-month mark. After I lost 50 pounds, I started going to the gym, and I was just like, I was curious. I wanted to see if my energy would fall off or taper off.
That makes sense. Like, is it real energy?
Right.
Okay.
So what I did was I fasted for 7 days, and I was just like, on the 7th day, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna lift some weights today, and just see, because you have to be able to experiment. You can't be afraid that you're gonna go out and pass out and die or whatever, because before that actually happens, you'll know. Your body will tell you if something drastic is about to happen. You'll feel it.
Agreed.
So you have plenty of time to say, oh, let me stop because I don't want to do something crazy.
Right.
So I went to the gym. I lifted weights, and I did it for the full hour that I normally do it. And by the end of it, I felt fine, which kind of surprised me, I guess, because, I don't know. I felt like maybe the fasting would cause me to be my energy pool to be a lot smaller, but that wasn't the case.
Huh. So basically what you're saying is you don't get energy from food? Because I mean, if you haven't eaten for 7 days and you're even still alive, because I mean, from what I'm understanding, you should probably be on your way out the door around 10 days of not eating. So on top of the fact that you had more energy, it was real energy. You was able to pump iron at the gym and you felt good.
Absolutely.
What happened the next day though? Like, and did you continue going to the gym? Like,
well, after I got home, I felt really good. I went to sleep that night. And I noticed that now at this point, I hadn't been in the gym for, I can't even remember at that time. I want to say at least 6 months.
Okay.
In earnest, I haven't been in the gym in 6 months.
Right.
So I went to bed that night and I woke up and I was a little sore, but I was just like, I should be more sore than this.
Right.
I should be
right.
more, broken down feeling than this, but I wasn't. So instantly I was just like, my recovery had heightened.
Huh.
Which was, again, very interesting because I had no protein. I had eaten 0 protein.
No protein. Ooh, do not get me started on protein.
So that was the first thing. I had no protein, but my muscles still, they felt good. I was a little sore because, again, I had been in the gym in a while, but I recovered very well. So now I was on day 8 of a fast. I'm going again. So I tried something else that day. I decided to get on the treadmill and do some sprints. I didn't want to do distance. I just want to get in there and do some sprints. One of the other issues that I forgot to mention that I had before was that I had very poor circulation. And when I would get on the treadmill and try to run, I would get this tingly feeling in my legs that would creep up my legs.
Oh, God.
And it would get painful. And I probably couldn't run for 30 seconds before I had to stop. And now I'm an Army veteran. I've done, plenty of, physical fitness tests in the past, had to run 2 miles. I've done it before, but since my weight gain and, subsequent diabetes diagnosis, and just inactivity, I could no longer do it. So I went to the gym, I got on the treadmill, I put it on a 6 or 6.5, and I noticed that I was running, doing these sprints, and I had no pain. So because I was curious and also testing my limits, I slowly worked it up. I went from a 6 to a 7, and then a 7 speed to an 8. So when I got to 8, I was just like, hold on, I'm feeling really good. I'm sprinting for a minute straight with no issue. So I say, you know what, forget it. I'm gonna put it on 10 miles an hour and I'm gonna see how long I can sprint. Now forget just lifting weights in the gym. I haven't done wind sprints at this speed in at least a good 2 years. Since I first moved to Texas, and I was still going to the gym regularly.
Okay.
So I decided, I put it on 10 miles an hour and I start sprinting. And I sprint for, I think, 1:30, almost maybe 2 minutes on 10 speed without any issue. And
wow.
Not only did my lung capacity somehow increase, I had no pain in my legs, my circulation seemed just fine, and I wasn't in any pain at all. And to me, this was A miracle? Maybe magic?
It's probably magic.
It's probably magic.
Comparatively speaking, if you were to try to run at 10 miles an hour, let's say, last year, let's say 2015, let's say December of 2000, January 2016, if you tried to do that, what would happen? Like, what would you experience?
I would have had, well, first of all, I because of my conditioning before, just mentally, because I know that I could have done it before, I probably could have started to do it for about 10 seconds before I inevitably had my shin splints start to act up. The pain would have been too great to continue. I would have been wildly out of breath. And it just would have been painful overall.
So you would have been pretty much forced to stop.
Oh yeah.
Like, this isn't just a mental mind over matter. Your body would have just kind of shut down on you.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it would have been too painful. I mean, I say I would have been able to do it, but my shin splints alone probably would have prevented me, because it hurt. It hurt to do anything more than a light jogging pace.
Right.
I mean, and I don't know if anybody out there has shin splints.
Oh, they got it.
But if you have them, as soon as you start to do any kind of fast movement, it makes you want to stop, because it's really painful. Especially if you're sitting at 250, 270 pounds, because they say your body triples the amount of weight, the pressure when you land every stride. Mm-hmm. So if you're 270 pounds, almost 300 pounds, that's like 900, close to 900 pounds of pressure you're putting on your body when you're on your legs or on your shins, and it's very painful. So, that's another thing. So, my shin splints went away. I was able to sprint, and somehow my shin splints just went away.
Magic. Well, that all sounds good. So how realistic is this? Because, I mean, you're military trained. You've obviously, you've been in the gym before. You're disciplined mentally. So comparatively speaking, how is somebody maybe who's not military trained and, doesn't have the type of mental discipline that you have, like, is it something anybody can do? Is it realistic?
I absolutely think it's realistic. When it comes to fasting and losing that weight, you don't need military discipline and training to acquire that. You can start off and gradually get yourself to a point where you can do it. You don't have to go cold turkey like I did and just say, you know what, I'm going to start fasting, no ifs, ands, or buts, and do it. I mean, that particular mindset, maybe that is because of training that I've had or just living my life a certain way. But that's just the way I did it, because I was diabetic, 271 pounds, in pain. I wasn't sleeping well. I was having man issues. So for me, I was just like, I've got enough problems. So let me go ahead and do whatever it takes to get my body to a point where it's healthy. And for me, it's like, I don't need to have, sweets and stuff all the time, because what's more important is my health. Me feeling like me being comfortable in my own skin and being healthy and being able to do other things that I should be able to do was more important than getting a quick sugar high. Having a Snickers bar, or, getting a chocolate chip cookie. For me, it was more important.
Right.
So anybody can do this. You start off, if you're the type that maybe you have trouble with willpower, you can start off starting off not eating certain foods, or not even that, eating less of the food you already eat. Start there and just gradiently get rid of things, here and there. Maybe every week you take off something else. Gradually move towards a vegetarian diet, and then maybe a vegan diet, and then, eating a fruitarian diet where you just have fruit. And then when you get to the point where you start to eat less and less, and then the things you eat are less dense as well. So then if you're just eating fruit, then you have less fruit, then maybe just juice. And then after that, when you get to the point where you're not ingesting anything but juice, you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna have water, and that's it. And then there's a lot of different ways to start moving towards fasting, but you can customize it in a way that's conducive to you. And and you'll start to notice the more you cut things out, the less you desire to have them. And you may say, let me skip all these steps after that. Let me just start fasting now. I think I'm ready. Your body, your mind you'll develop this willpower that you didn't have before. Then, if you're the type, just test the limits, test the limits of your capability. And I think that's one thing that people don't do. They don't allow themselves to really see what they're capable of, because I guarantee you're much more capable than you give yourself credit.
Absolutely. I talk to a lot of people who, when I mention fasting, first of all, the first thing they're talking about, oh, you didn't starve, you didn't die. Like, how are you here right now? You fasted for, 13, 14 days or, whatever. And they're always so shocked because we're brainwashed. We're taught that we need to eat, every day in order to keep our brain functioning, The funny thing about it is your brain will actually function at a higher level. It'll be more clear, more crisp, than you've probably ever experienced in a long time. Maybe you were a child the last time your brain worked and the creative juices were flowing like they will be. So it's definitely something that anybody can do. You just have to believe and just give it a go.
Yeah. Just try it.
Just try it.
Don't be afraid to miss a meal or 3 meals, because when you miss those meals, think about the other aspects of it. How much money are you saving?
Oh man, we didn't even talk about that.
Oh yeah, we did. So if you're the type of person who eats out every day, maybe you're a guy and you don't know how to cook. I feel like a lot of guys don't know how to cook. So you don't know how to cook, and maybe you're still going to Whole Foods and getting getting their their buffet or their
they got a little buffet.
They got a little buffet thing. You can go and pick stuff up, but that stuff is expensive. And if you're doing that 2-3 times a day, you're spending probably $20 to $30 a day on food. And if that's the case, $20-30 a day on food just from eating out. Not to mention the groceries you just have, just for snacks and what have you. But just if you're eating out of $20-30 a day, that stuff adds up really quick. When you fast, you save all that money that you would otherwise spend on food. You can use it for something else.
Wow. That is definitely one of those benefits to fasting that kind of gets lost in the sauce because you don't really think about it. It's like, well, what did it do for you health-wise? Did you lose weight? Did you da-da-da-da-da? And it's like, yeah, I did all that. And I saved like $400 while I did it.
Yeah.
I know for me personally, I'll usually spend anywhere from $67 on up to about $110 at the grocery store every week and a half or so, depends. So, my grocery bill for a month is right around the $400 range, on average. And when I fasted for that month, well, I did the 13-day and then the other half I did juicy fruits. I saved, 90% of that money. So, what could you do? What could you do with that money? Maybe you just put it away. Maybe you want to get your sweetheart something nice, a little diamond ring or
dang, diamonds? Oh.
Diamond earrings.
Yeah.
They say diamonds are girl's best friend.
Yeah, that's true. Remember that.
But so that's one of those off benefits that we don't even, I don't know if I've even ever discussed that before. So what are your goals for the future? What are you looking to accomplish in the next 2 months with your weight, with your body, with your health? And then just, how long have you actually been on this journey? When do you plan on stopping? Like, where does it end?
So I started in July 14th, I believe it was. That's when I took my first before picture, and I helped put that on the screen for you guys to see. And so let me see, that's 6 months in December, so we're at 7 months now. I've been doing this.
Okay.
After I lost that first 50 pounds, that's when I started working out. So that's when I kind of started playing around with the fasting and kind of what I'm doing. I did get a little complacent because, when you lose 50 pounds and you go from being uncomfortable in your body to very, very comfortable, I'm just like, well, I know I can do it quick, so maybe I'll take it easy, eat some bad stuff again. Look, just being honest.
Pizza, Buffalo Wild Wings.
Guilty. But the good thing is fasting will help. You know, if you do have that stuff, you know, fasting helps to get it out again. So although I did have that stuff, I did fast, and I continue to fast, and I'm fasting now. So during that time, my weight kind of stayed at a certain level, but I was also lifting weights. So I noticed that my weight would fluctuate between 5 and 6 pounds or so. But every time I took a progress picture, I noticed more muscle being built. You know, I'm looking slimmer. Now I was hovering at 220, 215 for a while. But again, every week a picture, it would look noticeably different. So I knew that I was still getting better. And, you know, but I got to a point where I was like, okay, I want to get to where my ultimate weight goal is. So for the future, the next 2 months, my goal is to get to, well, I just kind of came up with this goal a few days ago, but I think I want to try and get down to, you know, the 170s, you know, maybe 175, maybe 180.
Okay.
Because, you know, that would make me 100-pound loser. Although I'd be a winner, a 100-pound loser.
The biggest loser here.
But also, I want to get all the fat, not all the fat, but most of the unhealthy fat off of my body. You know, fat serves a purpose. You know, it protects you, and it stores those toxins so they can harm your body less. But I don't need that extra fat now, so I want to get rid of it. I want to get rid of it, and I want to gain weight again, but have it be lean mass. So my goal is to get down to, you know, 170, 180, and then maybe build back up to 190 with lean mass. 190, maybe 200, and I would be fine with that.
Okay. I got 2 questions. Number 1, did you ever experience a week where you didn't lose? Because I know you mentioned that sometimes you take pictures and, you know, even though your weight might be higher or whatever, you'd still see differences in your body. So did you have any weeks where you didn't lose any weight? And then also I wanted to know, you know, you're talking about losing 100 pounds and you're doing it in, I mean, from what I'm looking at, the almost record time. Loose skin, like what's going on? Like, you got the loose skin popping off?
Well, to answer your first question, there were times where I didn't lose any weight. And at the time, I was very, not discouraged, I was more angry. Because I'm just like, I'm not eating anything, and I know that fasting has gotten me to lose weight before, so why am I losing weight this week?
Right.
What I did not know was that I wasn't losing any fat, but I was losing inches. I was slimming and trimming. And I should have paid more attention to that because I was taping. I was doing the tape measurements at the time. And it should have clicked, but it didn't.
Okay.
And so that's another thing. There may be a week or two as you're fasting that you don't lose weight, and the reason is because you lose fat so rapidly that you have to give your body time to adjust. Because if you don't, answer your second question, you will get loose skin.
Loose skin.
And that's the thing that scares a lot of people about losing a lot of weight.
Yes.
Is the loose skin, because we know that it's an undesirable look. And the fact of the matter is that I don't have any loose skin. And now at this point, I don't want to say I'm only down 70 pounds, but I'm down 70 pounds. And I don't have any loose skin. You know, matter of fact, I want to show you all.
Okay. Let's see if he actually has any loose skin, because, you know, sounds good to say.
Sounds good to say, but is it true? Now again, I'm not where I want to be just yet, but full disclosure, but I'm just going to show you all that I don't have any loose skin. What I have here is still a little fat.
He's pleasantly plump.
Oh.
He's pleasantly plump.
Pleasantly plump, but no loose skin. And that's something that I learned the reason for that recently. It was because there's the proteins that are in your skin. When you're fasting, your body scoops up all that old stuff that's not no good anymore, and it processes it, maybe use it for energy, and then passes it, gets rid of it. And that's where it goes. And that's why I'm down 70 pounds and I don't have any loose skin.
So that's pretty amazing. One question that I've always had is, where does all the weight go? I mean, you're well on your way to losing 100 pounds. Do you flush it all down the toilet? I mean, are the pipes gonna be all like, what's going on? Because, you know, weight fluctuates throughout the day. It's very confusing. So do you have any insight on, you know, like how you're actually losing this weight? Are you just, is it all pooping out, or, you know, sweating it, peeing? What is it?
Well, the thing is, you don't lose weight when you defecate. I used to think that. You all you do is get rid of the food that's currently in your intestines, but you're not losing fat that way. You lose the weight when you go to sleep. That's what I've noticed is when I wake up in the morning.
I did notice that too.
Yeah, you wake up, get on the scale, but I'm down 2, 3, or 4 pounds. 4 pounds, I think, is my highest, but it may be 5. 4 or 5 pounds is 4 pounds definitely, but maybe 5, maybe 4.5. But in one day, I have definitely lost 4 pounds. And I noticed that even after because there are times while I'm fasting, there was one time 10 days in, I still went and I had a bowel movement, which surprised me. So I'm 10 days in with no food. You know, lets you know how backed up we can be, and what most people are. But I don't. Even after that, I still wouldn't lose weight. What I learned is that your body converts the fat into energy, and about 20% of it is lost through liquids, you know, sweat and urine, and the other 80% is actually lost through breathing. You breathe in and out, and you know you lose that weight. The toxins in your body get released just through your breath. And to me, well, your skin breathes as well. So I'm gonna say your skin definitely plays a part. But you know, through that exchange of oxygen, that's how we get rid of 80% of the weight, which is astonishing.
That's crazy. I mean, so I read this article that was talking about, you know, how much waste we breathe out in a day. And once again, don't quote me because I'm not great at like remembering this stuff off the top of my head all the time. But I think it was something like a lump or two of coal that we breathe out every day. So if we were to capture all of our, you know, all the poisons and toxins that we breathe out in our, you know, breath, and we condensed it, it would be like a lump or two of coal in one day. Now this would be under normal circumstances where you're eating, you know, blah, 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 blah. Obviously, when you're fasting, your body is supercharged. It's expelling toxins at a much higher rate. So essentially, you're just breathing all of this stuff out. The other thing that I noticed is when you sleep, you breathe more naturally. We don't breathe naturally. And that is our body's kind of natural defense against our toxic environment, our toxic air. So we're used to breathing shallow, but when we go to sleep, we breathe deeper. And so that just kind of, you know, accelerates that process of pushing the toxins out. And then of course, like you said, your skin breathes. So it's very, very realistic that in an 8-hour period of time while you're sleeping, that you could lose this weight. And that's another thing to remember is when you're going through the fasting process, you get tired, you get sleepy, don't fight it. Go ahead, go to sleep for the night. You know, it's only going to help you in the long run, because if we're losing our weight at night while we're asleep, then we can kind of think, well, the better rest we're getting, the more weight we're going to be looking at losing.
And that's worth it. That's worth it.
So is this something that you're going to like be doing forever? I mean, you know, like, because I know with a lot of diets, people quit, they give up, you know, it's too hard, it's not fulfilling. You know, where are you right now mentally, and where are you gonna go? Like,
well, this journey for me has been life-changing. People may say something was life-changing and they kind of they toss the phrase around willy-nilly, but for me it was literally life-changing. Again, obese diabetic here. I was, and now I'm not. To me, that's very powerful. And also, it's something that's gonna help me maintain where I'm at. And it also lets me know that if, for some reason, if I were to just stop fasting for a year and I put on 20 pounds, I know just what to do to get that off in a couple of weeks, which is amazing to me. So fasting is definitely something that I'm going to continue to do for the rest of my life. be it intermittent fasting or maybe just a cleanse every month and fast for a week or so. But it's definitely going to be something I do for maintenance, for my general health. Maybe I'll just live my life this way, fast one day on and one day off. Who knows? But I'm definitely going to continue to do it because everything is done for me. And I want other people to know, especially as the years go by, that this is something that can actually really help them. I mean, I'm 28 today. I'll be turning 29 in March. And, as I get into my 30s and 40s, I fully expect to look very youthful and healthy. And fasting is it's not a big part. It is the reason why. I mean, just detoxifying my body, it is the reason why. And I plan to live for a very long time. And to do that, your body needs to be running as efficiently as possible. And there is no better way to do that than with fasting.
Well, you heard it here first. There is no better way than fasting because fasting utilizes your own energy source, your own body. You're not relying on something from an outside source. You're not relying on, how something is going to, integrate into your body. You're using your own natural sources and they're the most efficient. And of course, there are ways that you could lose weight and without fasting. We know that's for sure. But, are you going to get loose skin? Are you going to be, getting rid of the toxins like fasting does? Are you going to get all of the spiritual benefits of it? The clarity of your mind and, it has so many benefits and no negative side effects. The only negative side effects are the times when you're actually detoxing, which, for how long did you actually experience those detox symptoms?
For me, I didn't experience those symptoms very long. I mean, really, the first week, I can only remember the first week of really having any detox symptoms. Not to say that I wasn't detoxing, but the symptoms, the headache, the lightheadedness, the low energy. That was like a one-time thing, basically, in my experience. It could be 2 weeks for you, but it's not going to be long. Depending on how toxic you are, depending on your habits. Maybe if you're a smoker and you're trying to quit, maybe if you take a lot of products and you put a lot of stuff in your body, a lot of artificial things outside of just food.
Coffee drinkers,
you're gonna detox.
And if you go back to drinking coffee and you fast, you're gonna detox again.
Yeah, I mean that's. Depending on what because caffeine is the most abused drug in the world, I think. Wow, and yes, it is a drug. So when you detox off of it, you will have there'll be some issues. Headaches is probably the biggest thing. But depending on what you have going on and what you're trying to quit doing, your symptoms may be associated with that. But again, I don't think that it would take you long to get over it. Because once that stuff is out of your body, it's gone. It doesn't. As long as you don't reintroduce it, you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
But again, it didn't take me long. A week or two, maybe a week or two tops, and after that,
smooth sailing.
You literally took the words out of my mouth.
Sorry, I tend to do that.
That's all right.
So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. I really want to say thank you to John for coming on the show and being here with us. If you guys like that video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, as we will probably have him back on and maybe even doing some other segments, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And as always, the application of knowledge is power, and I will see you guys next time.